Hello and welcome back to my channel, and welcome if you are new. My name is Kelly and I am going to be doing my December reading wrap-up today. The books I'll be sharing in this video are all books that I finished in December. Some of them I think I started before December, but I finished them in the month of December. There is a total of 6 books, including one audiobook, and I'm going to present them from lowest rating to highest rating, so stay till the end if you want to see my highest rated book for the month. And without further ado, let's get to it. For my lowest rated book of the month, which I'm pretty upset about, I thought it was going to be a lot higher on my list, it is A History of Wild Places by Shea Ernshaw. I got this as my book of the month, and it was the first time I got a book of the month. So I had really high hopes. And the beginning was really promising. It talks about this man who is trying to find a woman who's been missing for 5 years. She's the author of these dark children's books called Eloise and the Foxtail series. And she goes missing, and the guy who is helping try to find her, Travis Wren, has this ability to see after images of people, so he could touch something that was theirs and kind of be able to see a projection of them in that place in the past. And he goes looking for her, and then the way the story is told changes. And I think that's what kind of disappointed me. It became very atmospheric, and we lost that investigative element of the story, which is what I kind of thought I was getting into. So that was a little bit disappointing. Shea Ernshaw did a great job with the atmosphere in this book for sure, but it just dragged on to me. I think that there were some missed opportunities to maybe expand the world a bit more than it was. So I did rate this book 2 stars. Next on my list, I believe I also rated this one 2 stars. If anything, highest it would be is a 3. It is a debut novel by Emily Atami called Fault Lines. I don't know where this falls in genre-wise. When I read the back, it talks about, or the inner flap, it talks about a woman having a double life. So I was thinking, ooh, maybe a suspense thriller novel, but it reads far more like a romance or just modern literary fiction. Something I really enjoyed about this book are the descriptions and the imagery that is used in here by Atami. She does a great job of really painting a picture of Japan that's absolutely beautiful. She talks a lot about the culture, which I really appreciate. And the characters are written really well. They were all very distinct. I was able to picture them. She writes children in this book because the main character, Mitsuki, is a Japanese housewife and mother of 2. And the way that Atami writes the kids is very believable. I'm able to see them and their childlike antics really well. So despite it not really holding my attention, the writing was really beautiful, so I would read it for that. The main character does suffer from some mental health issues, mainly depression and suicidal thoughts. So I think that if you are looking for a story that maybe relates to you in that way, if you're kind of in a similar place or have ever experienced feeling of kind of losing yourself in motherhood, that this could be an interesting read for you. But for me, just an fit. Okay, we're getting into 3-star territory. A 3 or 4. I can't remember if this was 3 or 4. 3 or 4 stars. It is Castle in the Clouds by Kirsten Gier. And again, this is a book that I thought was going to be a thriller mystery novel, and it turned out to be a YA romance, which I was really surprised by because that's not what it makes you believe when you read, well, I was going to say that's not what it makes you believe when you read the back, but it does talk about kissing and such on the back. But it was very atmospheric. It's set at this snowy European hotel. We follow Sophie Spark, who is the hotel intern, and she is also like the hotel babysitter. And she meets this wide cast of characters, including a lot of people who work at the hotel, which are really interesting, and then some people who are staying at the hotel. There turns out to be this kind of kidnapping mystery that happens throughout the book, but it's not the prominent piece of the book, I would say. The prominent part of the book, for me, seemed like romance. Very atmospheric. The characters were fun to follow, and I highly recommend this for a winter read if you're looking for something really wintry and cozy. The next book on my list is one that I listened to the audiobook, so I do not have a physical copy. I will put a picture of the cover over here, and that is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuinson. I really enjoyed this book. It was kind of me jumping into the world of romance for the first time in a long time. I don't know if I've ever really read an adult romance before this book. But I really enjoyed it. Great LGBTQ representation. I know there were some complaints about this book of the way that England is depicted, and it may seem a bit stereotypical, especially if you are from England yourself. Since I am not and don't have that perspective, I didn't quite get that feeling, but I totally understand if you do. For me, this was a really fun, like, enemies to lovers romance, with two guys falling for each other, and I really, really enjoyed it. It had some great little cultural things in there. Like, it's a fictional world where the President of the United States is a woman, and then she has a couple kids, and their father is Hispanic, I believe. It's really interesting. They put a lot of cultural twists and turns in there to make some political commentary, which I liked, or social commentary, maybe not political commentary. But yeah, so Red, White, and Royal Blue, I recommend. I gave it 4 stars. The last book that I finished this month is a middle grade, Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger. I really enjoyed this book a lot. I gave it 4 stars. It is quite a thick book, and it is the first in a series of middle grades. I really enjoyed it. What can I say about it? If we follow Sophie, who discovers that she is actually an elf. So she is taken from the human world and put into this whole other world of the lost cities where the elves live. And she has to learn about this whole new society and culture that she's a part of. And also figuring out the mystery of, like, why was Sophie in the human world in the first place? Why was she raised amongst humans? Who are her real parents? A lot goes into that. It's a very Harry Potter-esque. Something that I found really interesting is that the author really is putting emphasis that although everything seems really magical, this is supposed to be, like, set in our world. Like, it's possible in our world. And that it's not magic that's happening, but it is science that is making all these magical things happen. So it's much more a sci-fi, I would say, a middle grade sci-fi than a middle grade fantasy, although it feels like you're reading a fantasy. I really recommend it. If you like Harry Potter-esque books, I think that you'll really enjoy this one. Now for the last book on my list, which is one of the ones that I finished earlier on in the month, and I gave it 5 stars. It is my 1 5-star read for the month. That is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. I've talked about this book before. I really, really loved it. It was so magical. It's a middle grade fantasy, and truly a fantasy. It's a very soft world building, so lots of the things are just like, you take it for face value. You don't really get an explanation of why things are the way they are. There is a witch who saves these babies that are abandoned in the forest every year by the people in this town colony. And we don't know why. And she usually feeds those babies starlight as she's bringing them to their new home. And she gets this one girl, this one baby, and she accidentally feeds her moonlight, which causes her to become magic. So then the witch ends up adopting that little girl, who we come to find out is named Luna, and she learns how to use her magic and how special she is. And it's just a really magical story. I can't say enough good things about this book. You just really have to read it to experience it. And the cover is so beautiful. I love the cover of this book. So yeah, that was my 5-star read for December, my fave book. That's my December reading wrap up. I hope you enjoyed checking out all of the books that I read this past month. It's now 2022, which means a whole new year of reading, a whole new year of reading goals, and I'm really excited to jump right in. My book club will be starting this month. It is currently free for anyone to join. We are going to be reading Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire. If you would like to participate in the book club, just follow me on my socials. I will be doing live shows to discuss the book on my Twitch. I will put the link in the description. It's also in my link tree anywhere you see that. Click on it. And yeah, so happy 2022, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye. Stay cozy.